Hi guys, Brant here, and welcome to another commentary video. Today, I wanted to talk about the Perk Boredom cycle, which is what I am going to call it, because it is something that I've noticed is consistently a thing in Dead by Daylight, and currently, if you haven't been on DBD Twitter, the current target of this is most certainly Distortion, and we'll cover what the kind of the hullabaloo is about that, how I feel about it really quickly, but I want to talk in general how this is kind of just a very normal thing for Dead by Daylight and the Dead by Daylight community to go through. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So essentially, if you have not been in the DBD Twitter space or the DBD social media space in general lately, a lot of people are kind of up in arms about the Perk Distortion because in general, it kind of inspires very immersive and unhealthy gameplay. It often leads to people unintentionally letting people get tunneled and because you're essentially stealthing the entire time and you're hiding yourself from all aura perks that a killer can be using to find you, and if you pair it with Calm Spirit, you can't even get found by stuff like Ultimate Weapon or Infectious Fright. So essentially, you can play a very immersed game where you don't interact with the killer basically at all, which results in the killer targeting everybody else and potentially tunneling, and it kind of creates just like a very unhealthy environment. I would say an unhealthy environment match to match. And so people are kind of like calling for this perk to be looked at and adjusted. If you're really interested in what I feel about it, I don't really care about it that much. I do find it to be not as fun of a perk. I wish it would charge based on like chase time and not like time in the tear radius, but that's like how I would adjust it if you're really interested. Instead, I want to focus on the Perk Boredom cycle because this is not the first or the last time that this will happen. Essentially, what happens is that every once in a while, every so often, we have a chapter release, and the chapter release comes out and there's a lot of hullabaloo. Everybody's excited. Everybody's talking about the chapter. Everybody's excited about the new perks, the new builds, the new map if there is one, the new survivor if there is one, and everybody's all excited, and it's all people can talk about for a little bit. But then after a while, things start to die down. Things start to change a little bit. The dust settles and people realize that, oh, the hype is gone, and now we're just kind of like back to playing DBD night after night, just running matches, not thinking about it, and the excitement kind of goes away, and then a lot of people start thinking about the game again. And a lot of people get very cranky playing Dead by Daylight. I'm sure this is not new news to anybody, so they get kind of upset, and when DBD players get upset, they like to direct that energy somewhere. So it seems to me that this is just kind of like a cycle that happens in Dead by Daylight, that we have a chapter drop. Chapter drop happens, everybody gets excited for a little bit, then chapter excitement starts to die down. People start getting stir crazy, people start kind of getting upset about stuff, and they're like, I need to direct that energy somewhere. And they always find some sort of perk that they want to take the brunt of their issues. And this time it has been Distortion. Distortion is the unlucky one that's been caught, but it has been happening as long as I can remember, is essentially, especially during mid chapters. I think this is where I see it arguably the most, is mid chapters, because mid chapters, obviously there's no new content. It's just a bunch of changes, and people get a lot of negative and positive feelings about changes. It's very much a back and forth. So especially during mid chapters, but even after chapter drops where the dust settles a little bit, people get a little stir crazy, and they start just kind of like, I don't know, picking any perk that kind of bothers them and kind of starts rallying for big changes and for behavior to change it. Like, people get upset. So it's like, I don't know, if I had any sort of point to this, it's just that take these kind of like big arguments and like, people raising a stink with just like a grain of salt, because this isn't necessarily something that happens because of like the integrity of like this perk actually being a tremendous issue, because Distortion has been out and been like this for a really long time. It's not like this is new news, but do know that like people do tend to get a little bit bored in between chapter releases, and in that mode, people will start to kind of like rally more for perks to be changed, or the game to be adjusted, or certain killers to be adjusted, because, well, there's nothing exciting happening. There isn't anything happening for a little bit, so let's direct that energy somewhere. So it's just something to keep in mind, just some food for thought, that perhaps this is not like, this is not as big of a deal as it perhaps people are making it out to be, and that people are just kind of like bored right now because Chucky's been out. Chucky's been dropped for a while. Chucky has unfortunately kind of become another one of those skills that's like really powerful, but not always that fun to face. So I imagine that people are already over the chapter drop and they're moving on to whatever happens to occupy their brain now, which apparently is distortion. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. It's essentially a TLDR review. Have you guys noticed? Do you think that there is a perk boredom cycle, or am I just full of hot air and trying to like make people feel better when I should just let them complain? Let me know down in the comments below. But that's gonna be it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. But I do upload daily, so I will see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye.